Hello and welcome to this video. It is time for the Premier League to return. Today we're going to be doing our predictions for the first week of the season, starting off with Brentford and Arsenal and finishing with that amazing game between Manchester City and Tottenham, potentially in the future known as the Harry Kane Derby. What an interesting saga that is. But thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy. If you do enjoy, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you are new, with notifications on as well if you do enjoy the video. We're going to be doing lots of videos and streams, live streams. If you're into watch longs, then feel free to hit the subscribe button as well for the upcoming season. The first game we're going to be looking at is the game kicking off at 8 o'clock on Friday night, the curtain raiser, and that will be Brentford taking on Arsenal in an all-London clash. There are some injury doubts for Arsenal in particular. Holding could be out. Thomas Partey's got an injury. Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel are all looking like they could not feature in this one. The last time these two met, it finished 3-1 to Arsenal. That was back in 2018 in a EFL Cup match, a League Cup match. Friendlies have been up and down for Arsenal as a whole. Some wins, a draw, and some defeats as well. And the first one was at Hibernian and lost 2-1, and then a 2-2 draw finished their tour of Scotland before playing Millwall and Watford and winning 4-1 in each of those games. And then they had two games against their local London rivals. They're more commonly competitive rivals, rather, as Watford is sort of almost in the London area, and Millwall is of course in the London area, and they lost 2-1 to Chelsea and 1-0 to Tottenham. A lovely moment when Saka, who was racially abused for missing the key penalty in the Euro 2020 final, he was clapped onto the field by the Tottenham fans and Arsenal fans. That was a lovely moment. We'll go to Brentford now, and Brentford have had a lot of friendlies. They've had wins against AFC Wimbledon, Boreham Wood, Cambridge. They've also beaten Valencia and Southend. They've had a draw against Manchester United, which finished 2 apiece, and also a defeat against West Ham. So, for me, I think this one will be a very difficult one for Brentford. But I do feel like they might get something. I don't know why. I feel like they might get something in this one. Arsenal have made one real major signing. That is, of course, Ben White. And that is somebody I would expect to be a part of this game tonight. Brentford have made a few signings, including Aya from Celtic. He will look to shore up that back line alongside Janssen as well. Ivan Toney will be the key player for Brentford this season. But for me, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for a draw to start off the season. A 1-1 draw, a score draw. My feeling is Brentford, they will show what they can do in this opening game. They want to show everyone. The world will be watching this opening game, particularly against a club the size of Arsenal. And Arsenal, they've been up and down in pre-season, and I think they'll get off to a draw in the opening game. Now, there is change to this season from last season. Due to the fans being back with 100% capacity, there will be lots of 3 o'clock games and not so many games being kicked off at 8 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the morning, or in the afternoon, rather. So there'll be a lot of more games that are kicking off at 3 o'clock. But Saturday, the first game is Manchester United taking on Leeds. This one will be an interesting one, a big derby spreading back years and years ago. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Sancho will start. It doesn't look like he will be starting. It looks like he will be maybe on the bench or missing due to his involvement in the Euros. It looks like Varane won't be featuring either. And I can't imagine Tom Heaton will be making his debut in this one with two good goalkeepers. There is some players who will be out. Rashford is going under surgery. Lingard is positive with COVID, so they'll be out. Looks like Cavani won't play either. Leeds, Firpro, Llorente and Shackleton are all doubt for this one. Pre-season has not been kind to Leeds whatsoever, and is this a sign to come potentially? They beat Guiseley 3-2 in the opening friendly, and then 2 draws against Villarreal and Blackburn. That draw against Villarreal was the winners of the Europa League. So that was a very good draw. However, defeats to Fleetwood, 2 defeats to Ajax, but I suppose they were all on the same day. And then Betis, they also lost to as well. So not too good for Leeds in that one. Personally, I think Manchester United will win this game. I think Manchester United will have too much power for Leeds. They beat them 6-2 in this fixture last season, and I'm expecting United to get off to a winning start like they usually do. I'm going to go 3-1 to Manchester United. Leeds, of course, problems, but in the end, Manchester United have far too much for them. But potential upset there, but I just don't see it happening. Next, we have Burnley and Brighton. So Burnley's signings have been very, very few and far between. They've signed Nathan Collins from Stoke as a major signing, but that's pretty much it. A couple of young players and Wayne Hennessy as well as an experienced goalkeeper. I personally don't see Wayne Hennessy starting in this game. Brighton, however, they have signed some players as well. Brighton have made several moves from a lot of different places. They signed someone from Salzburg, they signed someone from Japan, someone from Ajax, Kilmarnock. They've signed so many different areas and have strengthened up because their problem was they were creating lots of chances, but they weren't scoring enough goals. If they scored the amount of goals that they created, they'd have been in the top half looking at Europa League positions. So very, very, very big potential in this squad. So we look at the games they've played in pre-season. Just the 4 games for Brighton. A 0-0 draw with Rangers, a 3-1 victory over Luton. Burgess Hill lost 1-0 and Getafe they lost 2-0. Burnley, they had a little bit more success in their friendlies. 3 victories against league opposition, Oldham, Blackpool and Tranmere. And then Cadiz, they played and lost 2-0. Personally, for me, this one could go either way. This could be a Burnley win, this could be a Brighton win, this could be a draw. Based on the fact that Burnley fans are going to be back in full attendance for the first time in full attendance since obviously before the pandemic, and it's only the second time since then because they didn't have any fans in when there was allowed fans in sort of December, November time, and then they only had that one game in May before the end of the season. So for me, I really, really do believe this will be a Burnley win. So I'm going to go for a Burnley win because they're at home and because they have the 100% capacity. They're going to have the fans. They're going to be really, really up for this one, and that's why I'm going for a Burnley victory. Hey, I'm just editing the video and I realised I didn't put a score for this prediction. I just said a Burnley win, but I'm going to go 1-0 to Burnley in this one. Back to the video. Next, probably the picks of the 3 o'clock games on Saturday, and that is Chelsea taking on Palace. Chelsea have had a superb end to the season and start to this season. They, of course, won the Champions League final, beating Manchester City 1-0, a goal by Kai Havertz. And they've had some very good success as well in their friendlies. A 6-1 defeat of Peterborough. They played Bournemouth and won 2-1. Then played Arsenal away at the Emirates and won 2-1. And a 2-2 draw with Tottenham in the Mind Series Cup. And then they played Villarreal in the Super Cup and won another trophy on penalties. This time, Tuchel with his second trophy of his tenure already. It's been a season of change for Palace. Palace have lost Hodgson, he has retired, and they have brought in Patrick Vieira, someone who's managed in New York and someone who's managed in Nice, but has never set the world alight. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. They have made some young signings. They've signed Conor Gallagher, Elise from Reading, and they've also signed Anderson as well, who was involved with Fulham last season from Lyon. They've made young up-and-coming signings. Going out, they've lost a lot of very experienced players. Gary Cahill has gone. Scott Dan was released today. Wayne Hennessy, Henderson, James McCarthy, Sacco, Patrick Van Arnholt, Connor Wickham and Townsend have all left the fray. Some of the players who were out of contract, like Benteke, have signed new deals, but they have lost a lot of players, a lot of experience. Personally, I think Palace will have enough to stay up, but I think it could be a struggle. Chelsea, they know they have the potential to win the league this season, particularly with Lukaku, who looks like he will be signing. He won't be available for this one, but he will be involved in the coming weeks, and it's going to be a brilliant, brilliant season for Chelsea. I think they will be close. If City do not sign Harry Kane, I think Chelsea will definitely win the league. That is how strongly I feel about their side. So, the friendlies for Palace. A 1-0 victory over Warsaw, a defeat to Stevenage, Ipswich, they won 1-0. 2-all draw against Charlton. 3-1 victory over Reading, and then a 3-1 victory over Watford. For me, this is going to be tough. Last season, in their 2 games against Chelsea, they lost 4-0 and they lost 4-1 as well. So 2 heavy defeats to Chelsea, one under Lampard and one under Tuchel. This is going to be tough. I really do fear for Vieira. I really want him to do well. I loved him as a player. I thought he was absolutely magnificent. The way he moved the ball, just an incredible player. But for me, I think Chelsea will win this game 3-0. I think Chelsea will have the much better play and will be comfortable in their victory. Next game is Everton versus Southampton. So I did a predictions video, but it was so long I just couldn't cut it down to a normal length. So I didn't end up releasing it. But Southampton are a side that I am extremely worried about. They have signed Armstrong and they've signed some defenders as well as a young player from Chelsea. But I don't feel that they are going to be able to cope with the losses they've lost. They've lost Vestergaard, looks like he's going to be out. Bertrand has gone as well. And they've also lost Danny Ings for £25 million. I'm worried about Southampton. I think Southampton could really struggle. The friendlies, however, did very well. They went to Wales and had a 4-0 win over Cardiff and then a 3-1 win over Swansea. So 2 very good wins over Championship opposition. Played Levante at home and won 1-0 and then lost to Atletico Bilbao in the final friendly for Southampton. Everton played 3 friendlies for them. They won on penalties against Millonarios, who are from Colombia. Begovic scoring the key penalty and saving a penalty to get the victory there. They also had a game against UNAM, otherwise known as, I think they're called Pumas, as far as I'm aware. Or at least were back in the day, and they won 1-0. Moise Kean scoring the goal there. And in the final friendly, they lost 4-0 to Manchester United. You know, you never read too much into these friendlies, but I'm just not impressed with Everton's business. Everton have signed Damari Gray, they've signed Begovic, and they've signed Townsend so far. 3 signings that are bang average players. No offense to any of those players, but I just don't see them making an impact in Everton, and I think Everton are going to finish bang average mid-table again. I really do. However, I am going to go for them to get the victory in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 to Everton. Everton just sneaking the victory against Ralph Hasenhüttl's men. Next one, we have a Midlands derby. East Midlands taking on the West Midlands. Leicester versus Wolves. Leicester will be looking at breaking into the top 4 after missing out on the final day for 2 consecutive years. They have really need to do it this time under Rodgers, but they have won the FA Cup, they have won the Community Shield as well, beating Manchester City last weekend. Wolves will be under Bruno Lage for the first time, and it's going to be a tough season. I really do not know how he's going to go. I thought he'd be fine, but everyone seems to be doubting them, and I sort of can see where they're coming from a little bit. So I'm not sure how Wolves are going to finish. If you have any thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. So Wolves then, very mixed campaign when it comes to friendlies. A 1-0 defeat to Crewe, a 1-0 win against Betis, a 3-2 defeat to Las Palmas, a 1-0 draw with Stoke, a 2-1 victory over Coventry, and then a 1-0 defeat to Celta Vigo. Leicester games are as follows. A 0-0 draw with Burton is how Leicester started off, and it was for a trophy, so they went to penalties and they lost on penalties, and I think Leicester missed 2 or 3 penalties in that shootout. Very poor. Then they lost to Wickham. A 3-3 draw with QPR, which is a good comeback. I think they were 3-1 down at one point. And it was Iheanacho who scored the pivotal goal. But that's worrying. I think QPR have started off pretty well, though. Villarreal then played and they won 3-2 against the Europa League champions. And then that 1-0 victory against the very much backup Manchester City side in the Community Shield. The last time these 2 met, they finished 0-0, and then Leicester won the other game last season 1-0 at the King Power Stadium. For me, I'm going to go for a victory to Leicester. 1-0 Leicester, probably an Iheanacho goal, not much in it, but just scraping a victory in this one. I think Wolves might struggle this season. Watford and Aston Villa are the next game. This one is also at 3 o'clock. Now, for me, these 2 sides are going to have very differing seasons. Watford signings, nothing to write home about. Aston Villa have made 3 brilliant signings in the wake of losing Jack Grealish. 100 million for Jack Grealish, and it's going to be a tough replacement. But I think the signings they've made have been very, very good. Buendia they've brought in. They've also brought in Bailey, and they've brought in Ings. 3 incredible signings to add to their already good squad. The likes of Watkins will still be there. Trezeguet will still be there. For me, I think they could have a very good season this season. I think they could be the shock. I think they could be in Europe this time next season. I really, really do believe it. Watford, however, I'm expecting to struggle. They've played, they beat Colchester. They played West Brom and drew 0-0. Stevenage draw 1-1. And then they've had defeats to Crystal Palace and Arsenal. Really expecting them to struggle. They were one of my tips to get relegated, I think. I really do think they will struggle. Aston Villa, they won 4-0 in their opening game against Walsall. 2-0 defeat to Stoke. 3-0 over Bristol City. And then they won their final game as well. But the thing is, what we need to do is, I'm just reading out how they got on, but I'm not really in depth knowing who played and how many substitutions they made. And we can never read too much into that. Based on how I think both teams will fare, I'm going to go for an Aston Villa win in this one. Aston Villa to win 2-0. The final game on Saturday is Norwich taking on Liverpool at tea time. There are a lot of players who are out through illness. Maybe it's COVID related, and it could be a tough season for Norwich. I'm expecting them to struggle this season, expecting them to get relegated, if I am honest. They made a lot of signings after losing Buendia, and they have managed to keep hold of, as of recording, of Todd Cantwell. Their friendlies are as follows. Victories over Kings Lynn, Lincoln, Huddersfield and Gillingham, and a 3-0 defeat to Newcastle, which is alarming. Games for Liverpool. I know they've played games on the same day and they've played games on the next day and what have you. So they've had 2 draws, and then they had a 4-3 defeat to Hertha Berlin, a 1-0 win over Mainz. They beat Bologna, and then they played Atletico Bilbao and drew 1-1, and a 3-1 win over Osasuna. Last time these two met on the opening day was back in 2019, and Liverpool won 4-1, beating Norwich. I think Pukki got the consolation goal in that one, and it's going to be a tough afternoon for Norwich. I feel that Norwich will put up a fight here, but I think Liverpool will have too much again. I'm going to go 2-0 to Liverpool. Liverpool starting off with another victory, as they do so commonly. 2 games on Sunday, not the 4 that we used to feast off this time last season. The first game will be Newcastle taking on West Ham United. So, how have both fared? Newcastle signings-wise has been pretty barren, if I'm being honest. A 1-0 defeat to York on the opening friendly. 3-2 victory over Doncaster. A 1-1 draw with Rotherham. Beat Burton 2-0, and then a 3-0 victory over Norwich. West Ham, their games have been undefeated. They've had some really, really good wins as well. Draws against Dundee and Leyton Orient. Wins against Northampton. Reading, a 6-2 victory over Celtic, brilliant in that one. A 1-0 victory over Brentford, and then Atalanta they played and won 2-0. So really, really good from West Ham. Personally, I think West Ham have a better side than Newcastle and should be winning that game. But St James's Park will be rocking, and that is why I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. Newcastle getting a point at 2 o'clock on Sunday. The final game is Tottenham taking on Manchester City. Tottenham have signed Gil. That is their main signing, and losing Lamela going the other way. He looks very, very talented and could be a player to watch in the future. They've also signed Galini, the goalkeeper, as well. And it looks like Romero is going to be joining Tottenham as well. But where will Harry Kane be playing? If he's playing in Manchester City, they are starting to become an unstoppable force. If he's playing for Tottenham, Man City would definitely be weakened by that. Manchester City's games in the friendlies: 2-0, 4-0 and 4-1 victories over Preston, Barnsley and Blackpool, and a 1-0 defeat to Leicester. But they've not had most of their squad. A lot of them were playing deep into the competition of the Euros, and a lot of them were playing for England as well. So a lot of them haven't been involved. Man City have not scored at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They have not scored in the Champions League or in the league. and that is worrying for Pep Guardiola. However, I think that will change today. I think Man City will beat Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the first time. I'm going for a tight one. I'm going 1-0 to Manchester City. And I really do believe Man City will be in the top 2 this season. Tottenham, however, I could see struggling to get into the top 4 and probably finishing in the Europa League or the Europa Conference League yet again. It's going to be tough for Tottenham, particularly if they lose Kane. It just depends on who they replace him with. But those are my predictions for this week. Week 1 of 38 game days, match days, 38. And we're going to try and cover all of them if we can. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like and subscribe if you are new, and subscriptions on as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any thoughts on the games, post them in the comments as well. But thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked the new layout as well. My name is Mike, and I will see you soon.